cold. So cold. I'm not wearing any shoes, and my feet are cold. That was my first thought. My second was the awareness that my jaws hurt, forced apart by a rubber ball. My third was fear. Oh, good. It worked. You're waking up. The man, still blurry to my eyes, replaces the syringe on a raised tray table, then turns around, walking into the adjoining room. The sound of the tap running fills the room. I know what you're thinking. Well, going to be thinking. Once your head clears, and don't bother. You're not going anywhere. The side of my arm and the back of my neck both ached terribly. The last thing I remember was being in the elevator on the way up to my apartment, on the 3rd floor. He walks back in the room, though I can't see him very clearly from the corner of my eye. Obviously, he's not trying to hide, as he walks around to sit on a stool in front of me. He's as nondescript as they come, wearing store-bought clothes, faded blue jeans, acid-washed, a grotesque black band t-shirt, like one might buy at Hot Topic. His hair is a bit shaggy. A trim could do him some good. His eyes are the only thing off about him. They're a soft red, like an albino's. You can call me Jeff. He picks up the syringe, a glass and metal one that you might see in an antique store, or possibly a museum. He squirts the rest of the liquid into a rag, and puts the syringe into his pocket. Don't bother screaming, or I'll have to kill you. He reaches forward and spun me around in the chair. It's an office chair. And the spinning, I got a good look at the room. It's your average college student's apartment. One room with a deadbolt and chain front door. A futon is rolled up, Japanese style, leaning in a corner. A small metal computer desk with a glass top, and a closed laptop sitting on top in another corner. The power supply is curled up neatly beneath it, the cord bound with a Velcro strip. I felt a slight tugging at the gag in my mouth as he unbuckled it. The ball gag fell out of my mouth, and I started sputtering, flexing my jaw and cursing harshly. My mouth is dry and tacky, tasting of rubber, naturally. He swivels the chair back around, and the same piercing gaze met my eyes, which I glared back into. Why the fuck am I here? I shouted, and before I can flinch, the flat edge of a scalpel is placed on my throat. Now what did I tell you about shouting? Let's use our inside voices, please. He takes the scalpel away, placing it on the tray table. Now, to answer your question, you're here because I want you to be. You're alive because I'm bored. And you better not make me bored enough to find something better to do with you than talk. His eyes had deepened to a darker red. He hadn't blinked the entire time, nor had his expression shifted from the blank look he'd been giving me the entire time I was here. Fine. So what the fuck do you want me to do? I spat at him. My temper was getting the best of me. I hoped he couldn't sense the fear in my voice, but of course, he could. I knew he could smell it, like a guilty child coming home reeking of cigarettes. Now, there's no sense in getting angry, and profanity just shows how limited your vocabulary really is. Fuck you! He continues staring at me. Now that was just rude. He stands up, walking to the back of the office chair, and pulling me back, the wheels squeaking on the thick carpet. Wait, where are you taking me? I struggled against my bonds. No use. Thick leather cuffs, tight as a second skin, and swiveled me around to look at the shower. I bit back a scream. Beautiful, isn't it? A lump of flesh that was once a person, limbs severed and stacked neatly by the torso, wrapped into a neat bundle, with the length of intestine, blood pooled around it, and the face, its eyes gouged out and tongue pulled neatly through a cut in the throat, chest carved like a Thanksgiving ham, skin neatly, the skin scraped clean of flesh and hung from the shower curtain rail. I thought maybe you would appreciate it. I gagged, but I managed to spit out. What the fuck are you talking about? Your computer. You have pictures of my work and others. You post them on image boards, forums. Those are a joke. They're. I struggled for words, even as he sits on the edge of the tub and stares, waiting for an explanation. They're just for kicks, for fun. I nodded furiously. No, they're not. He reaches down to scoop out a bit of gore from the bathwater and holds it up to me. It's a blue eye, with a red nerve running from the back down his red-stained wrist. Funny, isn't it? He laughs. I retch, but there's nothing in my stomach to throw up. I settle for glaring at him once the retching stops. You're a monster. He grabbed me by the chin with his other hand. Maybe I am. His expression had changed drastically, from a blank stare to a rictus snarl. But maybe you're the monster. You see things online and in television, and don't think of them as people. Every single person with their throat cut, with their face caved in with a baseball bat, they're people. That... He turns my head to look at the corpse. That was a person. Living, breathing, thinking. And if you were to find this on an image board, you'd save it to your gore file and laugh about it to yourself. He dropped the eyeball into the water, where it fell with a plop. You're just as much of a monster as I am. The difference between us is... I don't find this funny. He shoved me away and I fell backwards, tied to the chair and unable to right myself. Hot tears coursed down my cheeks, partly from the force of my retches, and partly from Jeff making me realize, making me know, that in truth, I am no worse than him. He rights me, and reaches for the sink. A butcher knife, bloodied and dripping, rests in it. I prepare for the end. But he cut me free. My wrists ache as he places the knife in my hands. My heart aches as he points at the corpse. Cut his heart out. Cut it out and prove that you're just as sick as I am. I found myself doing just that. My bare feet settled into the water as I straddled the body, stabbing into the middle of the body's chest, over and over. Eyes blurred by tears, and the blood that flies from the torso onto my face. I gasp, shooting bolt upright in bed, a scream ripping its way through my throat. I pant, looking around at the familiar view of my small apartment. After a few minutes, I turn in my bed. I rub my face with both hands. My breath tastes tacky and nasty. Just morning breath. I chuckled hastily and checked the clock. 12. I'd slept in. I'd need to call work and tell them that I was sick. Oh, fuck, I feel sick. That was the weirdest fucking dream I've had since I was a kid. God, my hands are even shaking. I remember those stories that I'd read on the internet. A flare of doubt formed in my mind. I walk into the bathroom and toss the curtains aside. No rotting corpse to meet me in a loving embrace. I laugh at myself. It was just a dream. I turn to the sink and run the cold water, splashing it into my face with my hands. My shaggy hair collects it in my eyes, until I just throw it aside, and strip down to get into the shower. Afterwards, I walk through the apartment to my mini-fridge, intending to get a beer. I pull the door open and stare in surprise. There, neatly covered in plastic wrap, on a plastic plate, is a human heart, with ragged bite ripped out of it